Hello, dear children. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Jisha Jo. This is the second part of the diagram series. I have already uploaded part 1 and the link is put up in the description box. If you have not watched the video, kindly watch it. This is part 2 of the diagram series. In this session, we will be discussing the important diagrams and diagram-based questions from the chapters coming under basic biology, human evolution, population and pollution. First chapter, structure of chromosomes, cell cycle and cell division. A diagram that you can expect as a diagram based question. For labeling, it can be asked for identify the figure and label the parts. For labeling the parts, you should know the sugar molecule, the phosphate group, the nitrogen base, the hydrogen bonds between the nitrogen bases, etc. So can be asked as a diagram based question for labeling. And questions like what is the basic unit of the DNA strand, define the basic unit. What is the basic unit? It is the nucleotide. Define a nucleotide, etc. Now coming to the next one, structure of a nucleotide. This is to be studied by drawing and labeling. Draw and label the diagram and study to draw the structure of a nucleotide. So you can see the deoxyribose sugar, the phosphate group and the base, the nitrogen base. So after drawing the figure, label the 3 parts and keep. Next, to draw a plant cell or an animal cell at the interphase stage. So write the heading. If the question is asked, write the heading, draw the figure and label the parts. The first diagram on the left side is the plant cell at the interphase stage. Draw the cell and label the parts, the cell wall, the cell membrane, the nuclear membrane, nucleolus, the chromatin fibers, all these can be labeled. In the second, on the right side, you can see the interphase stage in an animal cell. There you can label the cell membrane, the nuclear membrane, the chromatin fibers, the nucleolus. Then also you need to draw the centrioles or the centrosomes and label it. So draw the centrosome. Centrosome is a region outside the nucleus, close to the nucleus in the cytoplasm. And the centrosome contains the 2 rod-shaped structures which we call as the centrioles, which initiate the process of cell division. So only in animal cell we find the centrioles. Now this is a very important question which you can expect. Any one stage can be asked for drawing the stage, any one stage of mitosis. So be thorough with all the stages of mitosis in both plant cell and animal cell. So if a question comes, you can score full marks in that. One example I have shown here. On the left side you can see the stages of mitosis in plant cell, and on the right side you can see the stages of mitosis in an animal cell. So if you look at the cell at the metaphase stage, you can see that in the animal cell, if you look at the cell at the metaphase stage, you can see how many chromosomes are there. There are 4 chromosomes there. Okay, now look at the anaphase. Again, there are only 4 chromosomes getting, that is because the centromere has split and the sister chromatids are being pulled to the opposite poles of the cell. So that is how you have to draw a cell, draw an animal cell having 4 chromosomes at the anaphase stage. Now this type of question, you can expect such a question for the exam. One of the stage of mitosis is given. Here the stage given is metaphase. So first question is identify the stage, give reason. So we have identified the stage as metaphase. What is the reason for identification? Because the chromosomes are arranged at the equatorial plane or the equator of the cell. label the parts like cell membrane may be marked 1, 2, 3, 4. The parts for labeling will be marked as 1, 2, 3, 4, and you are supposed to mark the parts. So the cell membrane, the centrioles or the asters, the spindle fibers, the chromosomes, the centromere, all these you should know to label in the diagram. Then is it a plant cell or an animal cell? If you look at the figure, you can without any doubt say that it is the animal cell. It is an animal cell. What is the reason? Give reason. Because of the presence of centrioles. Because centrioles are absent in plant cells. Centrioles are present only in animal cell. So what is the reason for the identification of the diagram as an animal cell? It is because of the presence of centrioles in the cell. Now name the stage prior to. Prior to means before the stage. So we have identified the stage as metaphase. So which is the stage prior to the stage? Prior to the stage is prophase. So you should know the know to draw the diagram of the animal cell at the prophase stage. Since the diagram given is that of an animal cell, when you draw also you have to draw an animal cell there. Now name the stage next to the stage. Which is a stage coming after the stage? It is anaphase. So how will you draw an animal cell at the anaphase stage? Count the number of chromosomes. Here, as I told you in the previous slide, there are 4 chromosomes here. So how will you draw the cell in an anaphase stage? So remember how to draw it. We know the centromere splits and the sister chromatids are being pulled to the opposite poles of the cell. So you should know how to draw the cell, and whenever you draw a diagram in biology, you should label the parts, otherwise you won't be getting any mark for the diagram. Then draw a neat labeled diagram of an animal cell or plant cell having 6 chromosomes at the anaphase stage. I told you how to draw an animal cell or a plant cell having 4 chromosomes at the anaphase stage. Similarly, increase the number to 6 and draw the animal cell or plant cell, but label. Don't forget to label the parts. So I hope that is clear to you. Now draw a duplicated chromosome. This is the structure of a duplicated chromosome, and you can label the centromere, the sister chromatids, and draw it neatly. Okay, this is the structure of a duplicated chromosome. Draw the diagram and label the parts. The sister chromatids and the centromere can be labeled. Now this is again asked as a diagram based. This can be asked as a diagram based question. The figure will be given and the labelings won't be there in the figure. You will be asked to identify the figure. So what is the process that is taking place? It is the crossing over taking place between the non-sister chromatids of the homologous chromosomes, and maybe ask for labeling. The parts to be labeled may be marked 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, and you have to mark. So sometimes the sister chromatids or non-sister chromatids or the centromere, the chiasma, all these are parts that you can expect for labeling from this diagram. Now moving on to the second chapter, that is genetics, some basic fundamentals. You can expect a question like this, which is a cross on sex-linked inheritance. The question is given there on the left side. Find out the progeny of a marriage between a normal man and a carrier woman for hemophilia. So what you have to write in the answer, write the phenotype first. What is the phenotype? What are the phenotypes of the parents? The parents are normal man and carrier woman. So first write the phenotype. You can see there on the right side, you can see the carrier woman crossed with normal man. In the second line, you have to write the genotypes of the two parents. Under carrier woman, since the the carrier woman, since the mother is a carrier woman, there will be the gene for hemophilia located on one of the X chromosomes. So that is why we write XXH. H is written as a superscript there. So it is she is a carrier woman. So we write the genotype as XXH. And the father is a normal man, and we write the genotype as XY. Okay, if suppose the woman was a hemophilic woman, what would have been the genotype? It would be XHXH. Okay. Now here the question is, the marriage is between a carrier woman and a normal man. So first line we write the phenotype. Second line we write the genotypes. Then the third line you write the gametes. So what are the gametes produced by the carrier woman, the mother? That is, half of the X produced will have X chromosome and the other half will have XH chromosomes. So two types of eggs will be produced. Okay. Whereas when we come to the father, again two types of sperms will be produced, half containing X and the other half containing Y. Now the next step is to find the progeny. So there you have to draw a Punnett square and write the gametes of the first parent. That is, you can write the gametes of the mother or the carrier woman on one side and the gametes of the father on the other side. And inside the sub-squares you have to write the genotype and the phenotype of the offsprings produced. You can see how many normal daughters are produced. There's one normal daughter. Then there's one carrier daughter there. Then there is a normal son and one hemophilic son. The son is hemophilic because he has only one X chromosome, and if the gene for hemophilia is located on that X chromosome, or if that X chromosome contains the gene, then the son will be hemophilic. So that is why we write the phenotype of XHY is a hemophilic son. Whereas for a female or for a daughter to be hemophilic, she should have the gene on both the X chromosomes. So study the cross. If such a cross comes, you can surely score full mark. Next is a monohybrid cross. First, what is a monohybrid cross? It is a cross in which only one character is considered. Here in the question, the character considered is the plant height. If you read the question, you can understand that a tall pea plant is crossed with a dwarf pea plant. So tallness and dwarfness are the two traits of the character plant height. So it is a monohybrid cross. Now the first line what you have to write is the phenotype of the parents. It is written there, tall crossed with dwarf. In the question it is given tall plant is crossed with dwarf plant. So we write in the first line of the answer we write phenotypes, tall crossed with dwarf. The second line what will we write? We write the genotypes of the parents. So in the question it is given homozygous tall. So what will be the genotype? It will be capital T, capital T. Whereas for the dwarf plant it is not written homozygous there, but you should know that always a recessive character is expressed in the homozygous condition. Okay, so the genotype of the dwarf parent or dwarf plant will be small t, even though it is not written in the question, it won't be written there. We should know that the dwarf plant has the genotype small t. Now, next, on the next line, what is the thing that you have to write? The gametes. So, first line you write the phenotypes of the parents. Second line you write the genotypes. The third line, the gametes. What are the gametes produced by the tall parent? All the gametes will have capital T. So, just write one gamete containing the capital T capital T allele. Then dwarf parent will produce all the gametes containing small t. Okay, so we have written the gametes. Now the next step is the fusion of the two gametes resulting in the formation of F1 generation. F1 generation is the first filial generation, which is the generation obtained by the cross between the two parental plants. So we get the F1 generation there. The fusion of capital T and small t gametes result in the formation of the hybrid capital T small t. So capital T small t is a heterozygous condition. Okay, so that is the genotype. So look at the first question. What will be the genotype and phenotype of F1 generation? So we have found out the genotype. It is capital T small t. What is the phenotype of F1 generation? Since the dominant and the recessive allele, that is capital T and small t, are present together, which will be expressed? The dominant allele will be expressed. So what will be the phenotype? It will be a tall plant. That is, all the offsprings produced or all the plants produced in F1 generation will be tall. Okay, so we have found the answer for A part of that problem. Now coming to the B part, if the F1 plants are self-pollinated, what will be the genotypes and phenotypes of F2 generation? So to find the F2 generation, what we have to do is we have to self-pollinate the F1 generation. So when selfing is done, the male and the female parents will have the same genotype. That is why it is written capital T small t crossed with capital T small t. Now what are the gametes here? Two different types of gametes are produced by each parent. Half of the gametes containing capital T and the other half containing small t. Okay, again now draw the Punnett square. The gametes of one parent should be written on one side and the gametes of the other parent should be written on the other side. And always remember to draw a circle, that is, encircle the alphabet when you write the gametes. The gametes should be written, that is, the alphabet should be written in circle, inside the circle. So that is how you represent the gametes. Now draw the Punnett square, and as I told you, write the gametes of one parent on one side and the other parent on the other side, and inside the subsquares you should write what all things? The genotypes and the phenotypes of the offsprings or the progeny. So in the first column you get capital T, on the right side the second column you get capital T small t, then the third column, that is below, you get capital T small t, and the last fourth column you get small t small t. So these are the genotypes. Okay, so you have found the answer for the first part of the B question. What will be the genotypes? Okay, so what are the genotypes? Capital T is there, capital T small t is there, and small t is there. Now the second part of the B question, what is the phenotype? What are the phenotypes if you look in that figure? So write the phenotypes also. Please don't forget to write the phenotypes also inside the subsquares. So we can find tall and dwarf plant. There is a mistake there in the figure since I've copied it from the in net. So capital T small t will be a tall plant there. Okay, in the second subsquare it is written dwarf. It is not dwarf, it will be tall. I told you the reason for that. So we can find tall and dwarf plants. So phenotypes of the F2 generation, tall and dwarf. So this B part is over. We have found the genotypes and phenotypes. Once again, the genotypes are genotypes of the F2 generation, capital T, comma, capital T small t and small t. Phenotypes of the F2 generation, tall and dwarf. Now coming to the C part of the problem, find out the phenotypic and genotypic ratio of F2 generation. So count how many, what is the genotypic ratio? You can say 1 capital T is to 2 capital T small t is to 1 small t. That is the genotypic ratio of the F2 generation. 1 is to 2 is to 1. And what is the phenotypic ratio of F2 generation? 3 tall plants you can count. You you will get in the F2 generation 3 tall plants. Okay, the one represented by the genotype capital T, and 2 represented by the genotype capital T, small t. So 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant. So what is the phenotypic ratio? 3 tall is to 1 dwarf. That is 3 is to 1. So practice doing this type of cross using all the 7 characters which Mendel selected, and if such a question comes, you can easily score full marks. Mostly it might be asked as a 5-mark question, so you can easily score full mark for this question. Now moving on to the dihybrid cross. Look at the question on the left side. A pea plant homozygous for yellow round seeds is crossed with a plant having green wrinkled seeds. So what is a dihybrid cross? A dihybrid cross is a cross in which 2 characters are considered. So here the characters considered are the color of the seed and the shape of the seed. Okay, seed color and seed shape. 2 characters are considered. So here, so the first line, what you have to write? The phenotypes of the parents. What are the phenotypes? Look at the question. Yellow round seeds is crossed with plant having green wrinkled seeds. So what is the phenotype? Yellow round is crossed with green wrinkled. Okay. I hope that is clear. Then the second line, what will you write? The genotypes. So in the question, once again go back to the question, read the question. It is clearly mentioned there. The pea plant is homozygous for yellow round. So what will be the genotype? Capital Y, capital Y, capital R, capital R. Okay, is crossed with green wrinkled seeds. A plant having green wrinkled seeds. Green and wrinkled condition are recessive traits. So you write the genotype as small y, small r, small r. Now the next step is the formation of gametes. So first step you have to write the phenotype of the parents. Second line you have to write the genotypes of the parents. On the third line you will write the gametes produced by the 2 parents. The first parent will produce gametes containing capital Y, capital R. So circle, write capital Y, capital R and encircle the entire thing. That is, both the alphabets should be encircled. Put in one circle. Okay, and the gamete produced by the green wrinkle, the plant having green wrinkled seeds. What are the gametes produced? Small y, small r. Write it together, and both y and r should be in one circle. Okay. So that is how you write the gametes. Then the next step. What is the next step? The fusion of the 2 gametes. So the fusion of the gametes result in the F1 generation. So what is the F1 generation? You can see the genotype as capital Y, capital R, small r. That is the genotype. Now what is the phenotype? Capital Y, small y is yellow and capital R, small r is round. So what is the phenotype of F1 generation? Yellow round. So with that we found the answer for the first question, that is what is the genotype and phenotype of F1 generation. So we found the genotype of F1 generation as capital Y, capital R, small r, and the phenotype of F1 generation as yellow round. So we have completed the A part of that problem. Now moving on to the B part. Okay, using a Punnett square, find the genotypes and phenotypes of F2 generation. So I told you, for finding out the F2 generation, we have to self-pollinate the F1. The F1 hybrid which we got is self-pollinated. And write the gametes of one parent on one side and the other parent on the other side. The gametes produced by both the parents will be the same because it is self-pollination that is being done there. So the gametes produced are capital Y, capital R, capital Y, small y, capital R, and small y, small r. The same type of gametes are produced by the female parent also. Okay. Then draw the subsquares and write the genotypes and the phenotypes inside each subsquare. Okay, so with that, we find the answer for the part B of that problem. You have written after writing the genotypes and phenotypes in the Punnett square, you have found the answer for part B of that problem. Now, coming to part C, write the phenotypic ratio of F2 generation. We don't have to study the genotypic ratio of the F2 generation in a dihybrid cross. You just have to know only the phenotypic ratio. So, count the number of yellow round seeds. How many yellow round seeds are produced? 9 yellow round will be produced. 3 yellow wrinkled will be produced. 3 round green will be produced, or green round will be produced, and 1 green wrinkled will be produced. So, what is the phenotypic ratio of F2 generation? 9 yellow round is to 3 yellow wrinkled is to 3 green round is to 1 green wrinkled. That is 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1. That is the phenotypic ratio of the F2 generation in a dihybrid cross. So I hope you have understood the questions that you can expect from the chapter genetics. Now coming to human evolution, you will be given the diagrams of the human ancestors 1 or 2, and you will be asked to identify which stage it is. And you should know the features of identification of the different stages mentioned in the text. And you might be asked to arrange the stages of human evolution in the correct order. So that is what you can expect from that part. That is the stages of human evolution. So identify the stage, write any features. Here I have written 3 features, but study 3 or 4 features and keep. Write any 3 features of identification of each stage. Arrange the stages of human evolution in the correct order. Then another question, diagram based question, which you can expect is the industrial melanism in Biston Betullaria. Again, to identify the diagram and to explain what it is can be asked. Okay. So we know industrial melanism is a classical example of natural selection provided by the moth, peppered moth, Biston Betullaria, and what it is, you might be asked to explain industrial melanism. So both from the chapter human evolution, you can expect only diagram based questions. Now from the chapter population, the diagram based questions you can expect is the surgical methods of contraception, tubectomy and vasectomy can be asked as diagram based questions. Here you can see the diagrams there. You might be asked to label, any one can be asked, okay? So you might be asked to identify the type of sterilization method shown in the diagram. Then certain parts in the diagram will be numbered and you will be asked to label the numbered parts. Then how is sterilization carried out in males and females? So in the previous slide you can see the first figure on the left side shows vasectomy. And in this, as you can see in the figure, the vas deferens or the sperm duct is cut and a small piece between the 2 cut regions is removed. And in the second figure, you can see it is tubectomy. Here the fallopian tube or the oviduct is cut and it is tied with a nylon thread, as you can see here. So identify, study the figure, identify the figure and look at the figure and identify the figure neatly and then answer to the question. So if diagram based questions come, I am telling you again and again, it is easy to score marks for such questions. Now coming to the last chapter of this session, that is pollution. From this chapter you can expect diagram based questions. First one, any type of pollution can be given. The diagram of any type of pollution can be given. As you can see here, I have taken the example of noise pollution. So study the picture carefully and try to answer the questions that are given. So here you can see the questions as identify the type of pollution, list any 3 sources of this pollution, list any 3 harmful effects of this pollution, and what measures can be taken to reduce this type of pollution. So study this with respect to all the other types of pollutions that we have to or that is there in the syllabus, that is there in the textbook. So you have to know the sources of each type of pollution, the harmful effects of each type, and what are the measures that can be taken to reduce or minimize the different types of pollution. And another diagram based question that you can expect is the greenhouse effect and global warming. The diagram representing the greenhouse effect can be given, and you will be asked to identify what phenomenon it is, identification of the figure. Then questions like what is greenhouse effect, what are the gases contributing to greenhouse effect, what is meant by global warming, then what are the harmful effects of global warming. So such questions can be expected for that particular diagram. So from the chapter pollution, you will have only diagram based questions. So from the chapters human evolution, population and pollution, you can expect diagram based questions. So with this we come to the end of part 2 of this session. Please stay tuned for the third part of our discussion of the important diagrams and diagram based questions. If you have any doubts regarding what we have discussed in this session, please ask your doubts and give your suggestions in the comment section. Thank you.